Okay. This is an interview at the Village Hall of Henry Whitbeck, and the interviewers are Liz Dubbin. Say hi, Liz. Lee Miller, Justin Brooks, and there's Henry, who knows more than anybody you can imagine about the Village Hall. Okay, guys, roll them.
All right. Well, let's start easy.
All right.
First, at all, do you know when the building was constructed or recall any?
Well, it was probably built in the early 1860s. It was not built for Village Hall. It was an iron foundry. They made plowshares here, all types of iron. You know, I made beautiful mirrors. I have a mirror home, metal mirror, shaving mirror that was made here. It was an iron foundry until the end of the last century.
Oh, wow.
By the jug factory.
So they made the plows for like the fields and such?
Yes, that is, they were a plowshare, the metal part. The first plows were a lot of wood, you know, but the metal was for the plowshare that was important. And they were distributed all over upstate New York. As farms were coming in, where the jug factory supplied the hardware. And they made wonderful door catches, and door catches and hinges for windows, hinges for blinds. There are many of them around town. You see them. You know, I have a number of them in my house, and 2 doors in the house are door catches made from this foundry. You just put it, squeeze it, and it unlocks the door.
So what was the transfer into the Village Hall?
Some parts are being recovered.
Well, the foundry eventually went out of business in, say, the late 1890s. And I guess one thing you have to know, the name of Catherine Roosevelt. Catherine Roosevelt was the greatest benefactress that Cherry Valley ever had. Her father had New York Central Railroad stock, lots of it. And in the last century, it was the IBM of the 1890s, you know what I mean? Just for the 1800s. And from that money, she had two things of this kind. She gave the money to build the Presbyterian Church on Albany Street. She built the academy that's now Catering Hall as an academy. And she purchased this property and completely renovated it. This was the library that we're in now. The firehouse was on the other side where they drive in the trucks now. That was I remember when that was the firehouse too. That's where the fire equipment was kept. And then of course there was the fine auditorium that we're going in later. Because that's where they had to move, where later they had the movies. It's where the school didn't have any basketball courts or anything of that kind. When I was first in school in Cherry Valley, we used to walk here for basketball, and plays and all kinds of things for the school were held here, and you just got a little exercise walking between the old school and this building.
So it was like the school's auditorium.
So it was kind of a multi-use building.
What?
It was kind of a multi-use
Yes,
building.
that's right. And then eventually, they had moving pictures here. Before movies had color or sound, the movies were shown here. And Mrs. Jenny Jones played the piano. Well, then the movies on Saturday night, you could get 25 cents. And you'd see the little window up here where you bought your tickets. And this is where everybody came on Saturday night to see the movies. And the movies were usually the first reel would be news, because there were no televisions. So it was a news reel, and that was always very interesting. So the news reel, and the short comedy, and then whatever the movie was, you see the movie. And that continued for movies here until my children came here regularly when they were small for movies.
So did, before they renovated this building as the village hall, was there an existing village hall beforehand?
I don't know. I don't know. I suppose the village had a particular hall. They rented a place to use for their office and things of that kind. And Miss Rosebloom thought that they should have this hall. And I think maybe it's a good time to just read a little from the deed. This is Mrs. Johnson, before she left, gave me the deed from Catherine Rosebloom to the village of Cherry Valley, dated, let's see, 1910, I think. Dated, well, acknowledged anyway, on the 15th of September, 1910. And Mr. Dakin, who was president of the bank, acted as a notary public, and Miss Rosebloom signed the deed. So one of the interesting things, it describes, like all deeds, it describes the property, geography, what it's like. But then there's some very interesting parts here. It provided that the village was to have and to hold the above granted premises unto the said part of the second part, the village, its successors with signs forever, and so forth. To use and occupy and permit the use and occupancy of the said premises and the building, now thereon, and any building may be subsequently erected in the same place. To be used as a suitable portion of the building shall be used for the housing and care of the fire apparatus of the village, and provide proper quarters for the recreation room for the firemen. A suitable portion of the building shall be devoted to the use of a village-free library that now exists and may hereafter exist in its stead. A suitable portion of the building shall be set apart and used for the purpose of providing space for any recreation or instructive entertainments that may be given and held from time to time. I'm going to skip a little. No rent shall be charged. And, there's a provision for repairs and upkeep. And this is a part of it. And the several churches of the village, or the several bodies or organizations that may exist in connection therewith, no rent shall be charged for any use of the aforesaid premises of the said building. But the village authorities may require the firemen's organization and the library to pay the cost of maintenance. So what they did, the churches used to, in the summer, they'd have what they call a church fair here. And the ladies in the church would have tables and sell fancy ware and food and all kinds of things. And it was held up in the auditorium. And of course, it was used for basketball. I guess I mentioned that because there was no other place for school, and what school assemblies were here. And of course, before the school moved where it is now, it was close to the Lancaster School, and it was easy to come down from the old school at the time this was made a hall and use this building.
As far as the uses of this building, in your opinion, when you witness things going on here, what would you say is the most exciting use for the building, such as you mentioned the basketball games and the church service?
It was a little generation ahead of me, but it was used for dances a great deal. There were lots of dances held here. There was the Thanksgiving Eve dance and the St. Patrick's dance, and the Zitter's Orchestra from Albany came out and provided good music for the dances. And there'd be lots of people here. And there's a kitchen upstairs, and they serve refreshments at maybe midnight or something like that, and send the kids home. And what happened after that, I don't know. I wasn't here. But it was used for things of that kind, and plays. There were many, there was Mrs. Winnie that was very good at putting on plays, and every year there would be one or two plays that people in the village would participate as the actors and actresses, and they put on a really good play. And then they used to also have, well, I can't think of the name of it, but they had, as well as the plays, they had other things.
As far as the things going on here, did you have any political or economical involvement in things that, in any perhaps renovations or anything going on?
Well, remember, when it was used as that, I was hardly a teenager, and I don't really know.
But later on in your life, did you?
No, because at the time that the school had an auditorium and a place for affairs of that kind, much better than here, so it shifted away from here. And they still had a couple of dances a year here, and some plays. And then it was used during the war as a baseball factory. I think they had baseballs here.
Oh, really? Let me see here. Can you talk a little bit about the movie theater? Did you, about the theater that was here, such as perhaps any?
The movie theater, the projector was in the balcony. You should go back and you'll see there was a balcony. The projector was in a little house-like building in the balcony. And apparently the electric wasn't strong enough because they used something they had to light with a match. Maybe, you know what they had with the first movies to get enough light for a movie. They didn't use an electric bulb, but they used a stick and they lighted it. You know,
No, just in history.
I don't remember the name for it, but all right, well, that's all right. That's what they did to get enough light for movies. And the movies, I think, were 25 cents or so to save the movies.
So you'd say the theater was a big part of that big attraction
Yes,
within this town?
sure. Yes, it was, for things of that kind.
Do you remember any gospel shows that went on here in the theater?
No, I remember plays and things of that kind, but I don't know. Mrs. Winnie put on, Mrs. Winnie directed and had these plays in the winter, and I remember them, but not in any detail, just that they were a play, that's all.
Yeah. Kind of entertainment.
Who were the actors, Henry?
Oh, well, all local people,
Local people.
yeah, all different local people too.
Did you
Good
ever
plays.
take part in one of the plays?
No,
or-
no,
No.
I was, never. By school plays, the school would have things that I've been in school, so kids would, put up a maypole, and they'd have a maypole in the middle of the room and things like that, but it was,
As far as the newsreels that went on, did you attend any of the theater shows?
yes, and that was always, the newsreel was always part of the whole program.
Right.
So, yes, I used to see the newsreels.
Do you remember any such as during the war, any newsreels or something that had
Well,
impact?
by the time of the war, they were still having movies here. But I was in the service, and I wasn't right here to see it. And the other thing is that by that time, they had colored movies and they had the talkies, and they were entirely, movies had changed a great deal.
Right.
But they did have movies. My children used to come here Saturday nights, and they'd be visiting their grandparents.
After it closed, such as the theater and the things, due to the change in schools, perhaps, do you think that had any positive or negative impacts on the village, such as the things that went around here that went on, such as the dances and the theater and so on, how they kind of slowly disappeared? I think.
Yes, for example, Cooperstown had a good, up-to-date movie theater, let's say, in the late 1920s and all through the 30s. And and people went there for movies, smallish theater.
So you think that kind of took away from?
It did
from
here, yes. But they continue the Saturday night movies apparently until, well, probably the 1950s.
So in your youth, they were showing the theaters and such in your youth?
Oh, yes.
So they were, was it like, is this place perhaps what you'd call like, I don't know, like a hangout or something that the Cherry Valley youth would go to?
No, if you hangouts would be other places in town. If this was a place to pay to go to the movies and see a movie and get out, you know.
Yeah.
Go to the bakery if you wanted some ice cream on the way home.
Where was the hangout? At the bakery?
Yes,
The bakery.
pretty much.
Good sweet.
Well, the bakery made and sold ice cream. That was also an attraction.
Do you at all recall the first movie that it played here or anything?
No
No.
recollection.
Okay. Well, I guess any stories or information that you recall about the holiday you'd like to share?
Well, Miss Rosebloom did a very thorough job. I think the building was probably gutted and the new window frames completely put in, you know, in the stone part here. And then the back part that is the hall is all built of poured concrete. And if you walk up Wall Street when you go out here, those concrete walls are still just as good as the day they were put in. I mean, it's entirely, you don't see concrete very often going second story and going to height that this does. And it's lasted almost 100 years, 90 years, in very good condition.
So there were, through the years that this was going on, there were more things added to the building, or perhaps taken?
I don't think so. I think there might have,
It was
there may be
basically
a small wooden addition on the back, I don't know, but it stayed substantially the same. There were good dressing rooms back of the stage, because when you had stage plays, you needed several dressing rooms. So there were good dressing rooms in that area.
Okay, so what?
I'll tell you my best recollection
Oh,
of the stairs that went up to each side.
yeah.
And I don't know what we were here for, but all I know is the person in the school turned me over his knees and gave me a licking. He just sat down on the stairs. Let me have a seat. So I can still remember that, you know. I don't know what I did, but
Just to make sure you
it was
knew.
sufficient to get spanking.
Oh, wow. Let me see. Well, this is all we have here. Are we gonna go around and,
I would hope so. I mean, we'd get a chance.
Do either of the other two of you have any questions that you've thought of during the?
I think they're all kind of put on that lunch thing there.
Well, is there anything we haven't covered this time?
Yeah,
So,
let's-
let's through here. I guess this is just a.
Yeah, this is
the
a-
same
yeah,
thing.
this is our basic.
All right, well, the most exciting attraction that it was used for probably was the movies and the dances. And number three is, I guess, nothing I can answer. And we covered the movie house, the theater, and the importance of the theater socially and economically, well, it was both, because it brought people in from, say, all around the village, from out in the country, everywhere, to come in here for movies. And obviously they during prohibition times, most of the time, and that they could go out and take a drink, but they could go and get ice cream and soda or something of that kind.
So you'd say that not only on the village, but perhaps surrounding towns and such had the village hall had an impact on everybody. Like you were talking
Yes.
about how the theaters, people not only within the town but around.
Oh, they did, that's correct,
come
yes.
into. Okay, so it had a wider impact.
Well, from the town, the village primarily,
Mhm.
but the town of Cherry Valley and the adjoining towns came in here to some
Right.
extent.
Okay.
With the plays that were put on, you said that the local people, they
Yes.
were in them, but did you ever have any like theater group come in from out of town or put on a show?
Well, I don't remember. That doesn't mean that they didn't have them, but I just don't remember anything of that kind. It's possible that they did have. Larger places did, you know. Schenectady.
Did you attend any of the dances that were held here?
Yes, but I was a little short and not much of a dancer. You know?
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Not a little short, but yeah. What do you recall the the changes in style of music as the years went on? You said they had brought in some Albany bands to play live.
Yes, there was a very fine orchestra in Albany which used to come out here.
And they'd play.
Zita, Z-I-T-A is his name. He of course came in by train from Albany and stay overnight. But played, the dances would usually run till 2 o'clock in the morning, probably 1, 2 o'clock, because they wanted to stop and eat.
How'd they get here by train from Albany? Go down to Cobleskill and then come up on the Cobleskill line?
The main D&H line to Cobleskill, and then the Cherry Valley branch here. And sometimes if there were special things going on, the local train into Cobleskill would make a special trip from Cherry Valley to Cobleskill, because there was almost hourly service between Albany and Binghamton,
No way.
passing through Cobleskill.
No.
It's different from now since it's so easy to get here from everywhere else, right, guys? Okay. I think this is the end of the formal interview, and now we'll have a little tour of the building if any of the parts are open. Thanks, Henry. Thanks, guys.
Furnace, and so it was kept open, so people walking through, you know, it's tough, poor people, you know, just walking through, and they get here a place to stay, so they would sometimes come in and sleep in the jail as a warm place, and then eventually villages were required to provide rooms where people walking through could be, under New York state law, where people walking through could be stay all night. That is, they wouldn't have any beds, they'd have to sit up, but a warm place to stay and bathroom facilities. And there was one here down near the bank.
When, like, what time frame would you say that
Well,
was?
that has to be from, let's say, maybe 1928 to 1938, something of that kind, 1940.
So it wasn't just because of the Depression, it was a general...
No, it was because of the Depression primarily, because it was just people walking through. That's all. Poor people, and they're looking for work or anything.
So was there like a kind of a police station back there too, or just the
No,
just the locker?
no, just here was it?
Yeah.
No, there was no police station. It was just locked up. I suppose the village cop would use the village office, you know, if things were necessary. But I don't know how much the lockup was used. I never saw anybody in there for that purpose.
DWI.
But I remember.
Do you recall when the fire department moved? You said the fire department was housed?
Well, the fire department moved after the railroad was discontinued, because the fire department is now in the buildings that were the station, the railroad station, and the freight house. So it must have been after that. So I think the trains discontinued in the early 1930s. While I was in college, I can remember when I first started with train service, and it discontinued before I graduated. It didn't take me that long to graduate.
I thought they were still operating things like the creamery up till the 50s, so I assumed there was still train service. No, huh?
Yes, there was freight train service.
Uh-huh.
Just freight. And it may have been as late as that. The railroad cars were of interest. You know, they used one car on the train, one car. It was half baggage car and half like a smoker. And they all had kerosene lamps. They were lighted with kerosene lamps and a coal stove in each end. Eventually, they could get electric light in the first first coach because it ran off of the engine somewhere or other. They had a way of making power. The other coaches were kerosene lamps, coal stove in each end.
So a lot of this,
Pretty high
this place
quality.
kind of changed with the railroad moving and such.
Ruth's